Hey everyone, and welcome. Think of this as your personal study guide for Chapter 5, Culture and Tradition. We're going to make this chapter feel less like a textbook and way more like an adventure. I'm here to walk you through it all.
So, are you ready to really get a handle on all the cool stories, the poems, and the big ideas in Chapter 5? Perfect. Let's jump into this together.
Okay, so here's what's on the menu today. First, we're going to check out some of India's incredible art forms. Then, we'll float away on a poetic journey with the kites. After that, we've got the super inspiring story of Ila Sachani. And to finish things off, we'll pull it all together and see what we've learned. Sound good? All right, let's get right into it. Part 1, India's incredible art forms. We're going to start with a journey through a story called Ek Bharat. So this whole story kicks off with something called the Ek Bharat Shreshtha Bharat program. And really, it's all about celebrating the amazing bond we all share as one big nation. And this is where we meet our young artists. You've got Akansha from Uttarakhand, who's going to show us Aipan art. Then there's Priyaranjan from Odisha with his Dhokra craft. Chitra from Kerala is all about coconut shell craft. And finally, Bala Murali from Andhra Pradesh with his famous Kondapalli toys. It's going to be awesome. So first up, let's talk about Aipan. This is a special folk art from Uttarakhand. Akansha explains that it's usually made by women, and they use this white paste from rice flour to paint on brick red walls. You'll see it a lot during festivals and big family functions. It's just beautiful. Okay, now for Priyaranjan's art form, Dhokra. And get this, it's 4,000 years old. The way they make it is just mind-blowing. First, you make a figure out of clay. Then you cover that with a layer of wax and carve in all the little details. Then you cover the whole thing in more clay and stick it in a fire. All that wax melts and pours out of these tiny holes, leaving a perfect mold. Then you pour in melted brass, let it cool, break the clay off, and bam! You have an incredible metal figure. So cool, right? All right, let's quickly build our word bank so we can understand the next couple of art forms. We've got biodegradable. That's just a fancy way of saying something won't harm the environment. Then there's sawdust, which is pretty simple. It's just the dust you get from wood. And makku. This is a special paste made from tamarind seed cotter and sawdust that they use as glue. Got it? All right, pop quiz time. This one's straight out of your textbook, so let's see if you were paying attention. When we were talking about Dhokra art, why does the wax come out of those small openings? Take a second to think about it. Ready for the answer? Well, it's pretty simple. When you put the whole clay figure in the fire, the heat melts the wax inside. It then just drains out through the holes, leaving behind a hollow mold that's just perfect for pouring the metal into. That's it. Great job on that. Okay, let's switch things up a bit. We're moving on to part 2, which is all about a beautiful poem called The Kites. This is a real journey into the sky. Just listen to these opening lines by the poet Daphne Lister. Up in the air, see the kites fly, like colored birds in the wind-whipped sky. Wow, you can just picture that, can't you? It really paints a scene. You know that line, like colored birds? That's a great example of something called a simile. It's when you use the word like or as to compare two totally different things. So here, the poet is saying the kites are like birds. It just helps us imagine the whole scene so much better, doesn't it? Okay, another working with the text question for you. In the poem, the child wants to hear some songs. What songs are they? The answer is just so lovely. The child wants to drift on paper wings and hear the songs that the wild wind sings. Just beautiful, right? It really gets to the heart of the poem. All right, moving on to part 3. And I have to say, this is an incredibly inspiring story. It's about a woman named Ila Sachani and how she embroidered her dreams with her feet. So let's get to know Ila Sachani. She was born in Gujarat and she couldn't use her hands. But her mother and her grandmother taught her this traditional art called Kathiawar embroidery. And with so much determination, she actually learned to do it perfectly, using just her feet. I mean, think about that. And she didn't just learn, she became this famous award-winning artist. So here's another question from the text to think about. Earning her own income gave Ila what the book calls a new independence. What do you think that really means? How did it help her? Well, the answer is kind of twofold. First, it gave her financial independence, which is huge. But maybe even more important, it gave her the joy of doing something she absolutely loved. And that's a feeling you just can't buy.
And that really is the moral of Ila's story, isn't it? It shows us that challenges can be turned into victories. All it takes is focus, a ton of hard work, staying positive, and just never, ever giving up. Okay, we have made it to our last section, what we've learned. Let's pull everything together and talk about the key takeaways from all of Chapter 5.
So what are the big ideas we're walking away with? Number 1, our country's art and culture are super diverse, but they're also what connect us. Number 2, imagination, like we saw in the poem, can bring so much joy and help us see things in a whole new way. And number 3, Ila's story proves that the human spirit is strong enough to get through just about any challenge. And that's a wrap. But before you go, I want to leave you with a question to think about. We've talked about all these amazing art forms, so what about you? What's a tradition or an art form from your life that you'd be proud to share with the world? Give it some thought. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today, and happy studying.